Right now in the car market, prices are up. This truck is $86,000. This Ram truck is $92,000.
Car payments have reached record highs.
And these two Ram trucks are $100,000. And quality is down.
Major recall to tell you about. Toyota announcing the recall of about 100,000 Tundra pickups.
So let's check out one of these Tacomas. So here we go, $50,450. 1 out of every 4 cars on the road has an open recall.
Car maker Stellantis is recalling more than 1 million Ram trucks.
This truck is $102,000. Quality is absolutely crushing the car market right now. And as a used car dealer, quality is hitting my bottom line. I'm having to spend more money repairing each and every one of these cars before I can actually sell them. All these cars behind me, all these in this line, I've got to fix something on them before I can actually sell them. Even the most trusted, most reliable brands that you think about, think of Toyota. They're having big time issues with recalls, with quality concerns. They've just had a big motor recall from their Toyota Tundras.
The engines could stall, causing the vehicles to lose power while driving.
And the thing about this is it creates a perception about the brand. It creates a perception about the Tundras, about those motors. So now what you're seeing, and I've been to Toyota dealerships recently where they have Tacomas, they have Tundras stacking up at these dealerships. Now the perception is that these motors are going to crater on you.
Toyota says in some of these vehicles, debris from the manufacturing process may have been left inside the engine.
It's making customers not want to buy these Tundras. And that's the perception, that these motors are just going to implode, right? But what reality is that's only affecting the 22s and the 23s. They fix the 24s and up. The perception is often more than reality. So if a consumer thinks that these new 2024s, these 2025s that are coming out, these motors are bad because they've heard so many bad things about the ones that were in 2022 and 2023, well, that's going to cause them not to buy one of those Tundras. And we're seeing that affect these Toyota dealerships right now. These Tundras are stacking up at these dealerships because the perception is that the motors, they're not good. And I've talked to these salespeople, and that's not the reality. The reality is that these Tundra motors that are coming out right now, they're just fine. They've already been fixed. They've already had this problem eliminated. But that's not the perception, and the perception is hurting these dealerships, and these dealerships are stacking up on these trucks and they can't sell them because consumers don't want them, because the perception is now the reality. All right, so check all of these used cars out all around me. Every single year, the tech in these used vehicles are getting more and more elaborate. I want to just pull you over here. This is just your run-of-the-mill Ford Explorer right here. It's a 2022. It's not going to be one of the most expensive, most luxurious, most techie cars. And even in this car right here, you have no gear shifter, you have push button start, you have a screen that you're having to deal with, you got lights everywhere, you got buttons everywhere. It's not a basic looking vehicle, and it's not one of your highest tech packages that you're going to see across the car market. And there's just more and more things that are being added to these cars. So there's even like government mandates that cars have to get more techy year after year after year. Now that's not the wording they say, but if a car is 2018 now and newer, the vehicle actually has to have a backup camera. This is mandated by the US government to increase the safety of the driver that owns this car. So all of these manufacturers that are coming out with these cars that are 2018 and newer, since then, they had to put this tech in these vehicles. And what does that mean for you as a consumer? Well, it means that prices go up, because the more tech that goes into these cars, the higher cost that you're going to have. And the manufacturers, they're not going to eat this cost. They're going to pass the savings on to you as the consumers. And another big problem in the car market right now is, from the consumer's perspective, is that prices continue to go up on these vehicles. All right, now here's the one I would assume that's fully loaded. This is a Z71. It's a 2500 HD. Yeah, here we go. Fully loaded, $8,500. And quality continues to go down. We're spending way more money on recalls now than we have in the past decade. And this continues to be a trend. And you think of big companies like Ford, like Stellantis, where you're getting a a persona from these companies that the quality is just absolute garbage. And that's going to continue to have them lose consumers, and they're going to go to other brands because what the consumer thinks is that the quality is way worse than what it has been, and other brands make a better quality product. And at the end of the day, this hurts these dealers when they have all these vehicles stacking up, when the prices are going up, and the perception is that the quality is going down. This is going to be a continuing theme in the car market, that people are going to not want to spend the kind of money that it costs to buy these trucks when they think that they're going to have to put them in the shop for a recall just as soon as they buy them. And at the end of the day, this is going to hurt me as a used car dealer as well, because as consumers don't want to go buy some of these new cars from these franchise dealers, well, they're not trading in their cars. So guess what I don't get to get is their trade-ins. This is a problem that I think comes from the top down. Manufacturers are going to get hurt because they're not able to get vehicles to dealers, because these franchise dealers aren't able to sell to consumers because the consumer thinks that the quality is down on all these cars, which by the numbers it says that it is, and the manufacturers are trying to charge too much for these cars. This hurts the franchise dealers because they aren't able to sell. When they aren't able to sell, they can't get trade-ins, and that hurts me as a used car dealer because these trade-ins don't wind up coming to the auction, so it creates less supply for us dealers. And then after that, guess what? It hurts you. It hurts the consumer. Used car prices have to stay stubbornly high because we don't get the amount of volume that we need for the demand coming from the consumer. And a lot of these consumers, instead of trying to go buy one of these new cars now, they want to buy a used car. They don't want to sign up for that big payment, so it creates more buying pressure for used cars versus new cars. Supply is already low. The whole cycle of how we get used cars has been absolutely crushed because the new car dealers aren't selling cars. It's just a vicious cycle of destruction in the market for used car dealers, creating a big price crunch for the consumer. It's happening on the new side from the manufacturers, and it's happening on the used side also from manufacturers because they've messed up to begin with. Price is too high, quality too low. Demand destruction on the new side creates supply destruction on the used side. And even if these companies do get these recalls fixed, even when Toyota said, okay, you know what, we're just going to go through and just fix all of these motors on all of these trucks. Well, that still takes time. So that consumer that has one of these 22, one of these 2023 Tundras, they have to take time off of work. They have to be able to set up appointments. They have to plan to be without their vehicle for however long it takes. And repairing vehicles at these dealerships is not a quick thing. It takes lots and lots of time. And this is more aggravation that the consumer has to deal with after they spent this $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 on one of these super nice Tundra trucks. They look great, but if they have to spend that amount of time after they've spent this amount of money, this is not something that is okay for the consumer. The next time that they're going to go buy that truck that they want, maybe they're not thinking Toyota, maybe they're thinking another brand, because now they have all of this this frustration with Toyota from making a bad product to begin with, from charging so much money to begin with, and then they had to deal with all these complications after the fact. All right, so check this out right here. This is our war board. This is where we show the entire process of cars, from when we buy them to when we get them fixed to when we clean them up to when we post them to put them on our car lot. So here's where I want to show you that the quality is being a big concern with us. So this column right here, this is where my stress level comes from in my business here. And this column continuously stays filled now because the quality at these auctions. We're spending so much more money on getting these cars fixed. It used to be that there would only be 2 or 3 cars in our junk list of things that we have to get fixed. Like there's some big situations here. There's some transmissions, we got some motors, we got big time sensors got to be changed where big things have to be pulled out so we can even get to the sensor. We didn't have to do this a lot in the past because we would buy cars that didn't need to be fixed, or we would buy stuff that, okay, we knew it was an easy fix. But now, because the quality at these auctions have gone down so much and the availability of good cars at these auctions have gone down so much, we have to buy stuff that we have to do a lot of work in. And even if we go to these auctions and we see a car that we know that we could sell pretty easily, even if it needs a pretty significant repair, we're still buying those kind of cars because the level of good quality cars out there for me to be able to buy, the quantity of those is just not out there. So we have to reach, we have to dig, we have to scratch to find whatever we can find. And sometimes that means, especially with the quality levels right now, that we're taking on jobs that we don't really want to take on, because if I don't take on these jobs, I'm not going to have cars out there to be able to sell. I have to take on these kind of gambles, these kind of repairs, if I want to actually have cars on my lot to be able to sell to my consumer. And when you add more tech to these cars, there's just more things to go wrong in them. There's more moving pieces, there's more electrical circuits, there's more computers that you have to deal with in all these cars, more things to go faulty, and that means in most cases there are going to be more recalls fixing these systems that are going to eventually break, and sometimes break very quickly because the quality, as we've seen, of a lot of these vehicles is going down. And really, who's going to benefit from all of this? Well, it's going to be mechanics, right? Because we have more moving pieces, more things to be at fault in these cars. And really, your mom and pop mechanics, they're not the ones who are benefiting, because there's a lot of new tools that have to be acquired. There's a lot of new information that these mechanics have to learn to be able to fix it. So it's not really those mechanics, it's your big service centers. It's your Ford dealerships, it's your Chevy dealerships, it's your Toyota dealerships that are really going to benefit from this. This is a big profit center for a lot of these franchise dealers. It's their service center. And now, really a lot of these franchise dealers, they don't make very much money off of selling the actual car. Where they make their money is they make their money on the back end. They make their money off F&I products. They make their money on these add-ons that people buy. They make their money off their dock fees. And a really big place where they make a lot of their money are the service centers. And as these cars have more tech, as the quality continues to go down, as more recalls stack up with these vehicles, well, so does the amount of money that these service centers can make on you, the consumer, because of all this new tech, all this quality destruction through the car market. So right now, what we're seeing come through a lot of these auctions are repos from people not paying their car bills, from going delinquent, and then the banks, the financial institutions, or the dealers themselves will go and pick up these cars. We know one thing, and I'm seeing this, and I've showed it to you a lot on our channel, going to a lot of these auctions. Repossessions are the worst of the worst of the worst cars, because these people who don't pay their car bills, they're also not taking care of the car. So any regular maintenance or whatever, these people are already living paycheck to paycheck. They can't afford their bills, so no, they can't even afford to really go get the oil change. If it gets if there's a ding on the bumper, it's cosmetic. If it still runs and goes to work, they're not going to fix that. If they have any sensors, check engine lights going off, well, you know what? They've stopped paying for the car, so they know that they can lose it at any time. So they're not paying to get that fixed either. There's a saying in the car market, especially with a lot of these dealers that hold their own notes. They're the buy here, pay here dealers. The dealers that you see on the side of the highway with $9.95 down, and you're able to make payments of $350 every 2 weeks or whatever it is that they're charging. That's high. That's $750 a month. Probably not that high. Maybe it's like $100 a week or something like that. Anyway. Those consumers, the saying that they have is the consumers have money to do one thing. They can either pay for the car, they can make the payment, or they can get the car fixed. But they can't do both things. And when they're living paycheck to paycheck already, any kind of small hiccup that doesn't allow the car to start. Think of just like a dead battery, something that easy, that cheap to fix, $150 to get a new battery put in a car, an alternator go out. It's not really that big of a fix. It's alternators, $150, $250. If you get a mechanic put in, maybe $300. It's not a lot of money, but this is absolutely a catastrophe for these consumers and for that car, because they just can't afford to spend that extra $300 to fix that alternator. So that car is just going to sit there and it's not going to run. They're going to stop making their payment on it, because why would they pay for something that's not going to run? They don't have the money to do it. So a lot of these cars, this is what shows up at these dealer auctions. They're the repos, and they're not helping this situation. If anything, they're making it worse because we're getting less quality trade-ins from these franchise dealers, and we're getting more and more of these junk repos hitting this auction. And this is the kind of vehicles that us as a used car dealer, we have to scrape through to try to find stuff that's even sellable to our consumer. And it's getting really hard, and it's getting frustrating, and I don't like it. I don't like it.